my name is Randell Tiongson and welcome back to my channel, my YouTube channel, and familiar face already. This is not the first time. This is the second time. I'm bringing in one of the, I'm going to make yabang on your part, one of the brightest bonds manager in the country today, high-performing guy. And you got great news. So, Miguel, can you reintroduce yourself to our followers?
Thanks, sir. So I'm Miguel Liboro. I'm the head of fixed income for ATRAM Trust Corp. And among many of the bond funds that we offer, we manage the ATRAM Total Return Peso Bond Fund, which is what we're going to talk about today.
Okay, so a little bit of a background. General again, quick review. What are bonds? What are bond funds?
So the easiest way to explain what bonds are bonds are debt or utang, right? So when you borrow money from a bank, they charge you an interest rate for the right to use that capital, diba? That's their investment to lend the money to you. So you need to pay them interest. The bond is the same thing, but the other way around. The government, or if it's a corporate bond, a corporation, is borrowing money from you, the bondholder. And in order for you to lend your money to them, they need to pay you an interest rate. And that's the coupon rate of the bond.
And two major players here are the government and corporations. I mean, big quality scaled corporations, they borrow money, they use bonds to do that, to finance their operations, and the government to finance, whatever we have right now to do that. So a little bit quick, if we see the word treasury, then it's coming from the Philippine government, the treasury of the Philippine government, okay? And if you see a corporate thing, a bond lang, it's from the companies that can offer. And generally speaking, corporate bonds would always offer higher returns than your treasuries, because the treasuries are, in a way, that's where you zero risk, because the government guarantees to pay you. All right. So basically, and then guys like Miguel, I mean, so totoo lang, it's hard to invest in bonds because of the size. You need a lot of money to do that. So now we have options to go through a bond fund. And this is what Miguel does. He manages funds for ATRAM and Soldivo, one of the best performing bonds of 2020. Miguel, you have to have this pressure to carry that in 2021.
Yeah, I think every time you have some level of success, there is that pressure. Yeah. But I think over the years, from a consistency standpoint, we've not always been number one, but we're always kind of, or try to be at the kind of upper part.
I think that's very important for you guys, no? It's really not so much of whether I'm top there, but really more of a consistency over the years. Because
absolutely.
You don't invest in a bond fund for just 1 year. You invest it for the next 5, 7, 8, as much as 10 years. Miguel, trivia. I have a bond fund that's magte 20 years na.
Wow, okay. It can't be an ATRAM bond fund kasi that's too long already.
Another bond fund. 19, ano ba ngayon? Oh, sorry. It's 18 years na. Or 19 years na. So it's still
I'm
there.
sure you've made money assuming that you left it there lang.
I don't even check it anymore. So it's there. I mean, I could have gone that, but I'm happy with it. You're right, no? I love the bond funds. And this is the thing. There's so much information on the equity side. There's not much information in the bonds and the bond funds. But if you're looking for more consistency, less risk, less volatility, up and down, this is the right instrument for you. And just like what I'm telling, you always have to include this in your portfolio. Okay? Even if bata ka pa. Like si Miguel is not too old. Okay? But he relatively...
I'm older than I look naman.
Relatively young, but it's something that you also consider always, diba? As part of what we put. Alright? So hindi po totoo na ang bond fund pang matanda lang. Okay.
Absolutely. Yeah. And actually, another thing I wanted to get out of the way quickly was, for those that have heard of bonds or bond funds, there's always this kind of misconception that you can't really make money in a bond fund relative to an equity fund because it's not risky enough. But I think the last few years have kind of debunked that theory. And if I could just share...
especially 2020.
Yes.
Okay, you have something to share. So you're showing something, no? It's talking about the performance of the fund. Bonds in general.
Yeah, while definitely it's not apples to apples to compare bonds or bond funds and equities, because they're compared so often, and there's this misconception that you can't make money with a bond fund and you can only make money with an equity fund. But I think what this chart shows, and what this is really the performance of the ATRAM Total Return Peso Bond Fund over the last 5 years compared against the Philippine Stock Exchange Index, is that you can make money in a bond fund, and you can do it in a much safer, less volatile way. So if you just look at the top line numbers, what that's showing is if you were invested in this fund at the onset in 2014, then you would have made 28% at the end of last year.
Okay.
And that's net of fees, net of taxes, net of everything. Whereas if you had been invested in an index fund on the equity side, you would have made 1% given everything that's happened. And in fact, if you were invested in an actual fund, you would have made less than that because this 1% presumes no fees.
Okay. And this is considering, Miguel, no, the challenging 2018, 2019, 2020 scenario also. No? It's battered, we've been in a sideways. But so I guess if you don't like the volatility, the risk, I think this is the one that you should be considering, correct?
Yeah, I mean, and you raise a good point, sir. 2020 as you can see, the fund or bonds in general did very well in
Yeah,
2020
but
because
even if we take the 2020 out, the bond
actually,
is
yeah, if so to that point, 2020 looks like, oh, Madaya, why are you including 2020? Bonds did well generally, equities were bad, once in a lifetime pandemic event. But this is only until 2019. So we removed the whole 2020. And funnily enough, being invested in the bond fund still gave you a better return than being invested in equities, assuming that you were invested the whole
yeah,
time.
okay.
And it's a much smoother ride because you can see, syempre, in 2017, in 2016, 2015, equities really gave you the chance to make so much.
Yeah,
But
okay.
they took it all back also,
Yeah,
diba?
yeah.
So in the end, it all kind of evened out. And
So guys
um,
watching, at the end of the day, we're not telling you not to invest in equities. We are just showing you that this is how it performs. Again, if you're looking at from a long-term perspective, 15, 20 years, your equities will do well, but your bonds will also do well. So, and this is the brotherly reminder, you have to consider both. You just don't look at one over the other, right? Clear. Baka pagalitan tayo ng mga counterparts mo, Miguel.
no, I completely agree with you, sir. Like equities, honestly, our view this year is that it will probably do
Yeah.
well. But I think a lot of us had that view last year also. So you
Okay.
can never really tell, diba? And it always makes sense to be diversified in something else.
And I guess if your personality, your comfort level of comfort pa din naman eh. If you really don't want the volatility, you just want your money to grow. You want it to be more secured. You want it to be less movement. Then the bonds and the bond funds are the ones that you can consider. I mean, honestly, don't expect magic returns. It's not going to happen. You never expect your bonds to give you 25%. If that happens, I don't know if that's I'd be very scared. Okay.
Yeah,
Something's
I heard
happening.
in the 90s though, ganun
Yeah,
yung yields ng
and
bonds. Pero yung inflation mo was 17, 18%
and in and also Miguel in the 80s.
in
Okay.
the 80s.
So those are the scary. At those time, you don't worry about your money, worry about something else. All right. So this is the thing that you know. So it's something that you consider. But I love what you're doing now. Now we're putting the numbers. Pinapakita po natin, mga kaibigan, na hey, the bonds are not as boring as you thought it was. I mean, volatility naman, pero nakita mo naman
They're
yung
boring in the right way na makakatulog ka sa gabi kasi you can see that chart, may konting ano rin siya, pero medyo packet lang talaga na steady.
but it's been a challenge for us to really look for money growth in the last few years, no? I mean, regardless, di ba? We've been seeing that. So, all right, kaya madaming scams pa rin hanggang ngayon because of these things. All right, so this is the ATRAM total return. And now, and this is something that we want to talk about. The reason why we're doing the videos, because we've talked about this in the past. Finally, the investors like me, not the consumers like me, we can now have an easier access to these things. Diba? We can now, of course, you can go get it from your brokers, from your financial advisors. You can buy it, but now you can do it direct. It's great for DIY people because this is now available in GCash. Yun yung maganda.
Absolutely.
It's now going to be available in GCash. You can actually have access to this by going to your GCash. Para ako na nagturo, no? And there's a function there, GInvest. Okay, GInvest. So, Finally, what took you so what took you so long? Because you've been there. The money market has been there for quite some time. What took you so long to put this in the environment?
Well, we've really wanted to put it on board for quite a while now, and I can't answer the specifics of that because it was another team handling it. But there was a reason why we started with the money market before moving
Okay. Okay.
into
That's good, no? Kasi you
bonds.
wanted to ease people in.
Yes, because on the money market, your ability to gain or generate returns is much more limited because you're prioritizing just capital preservation, really.
Okay.
Um, Almost no risk, but very modest returns, especially in the kind of low rate environment you're seeing now. And then now we're taking it the next step. We're introducing bond funds that still try to manage that volatility, still try to preserve your capital, but at the same time, take more measured risks to generate, as you saw earlier, more significant capital gains.
So that we can grow kahit paano a little ahead of inflation. Diba? I mean, that's the whole idea, the whole concept. So now you can now have this in your GCash facility. And chichismis lang kami, we've not been GCash heavy users until the pandemic.
Actually, I'm guilty of that nga. I only really started using GCash for everything
Yeah,
nung
it's
March.
easy. And it makes sense. No, might as well use it for your investing.
Absolutely.
So the
Absolutely.
GInvest is going to be part, and now there's now going to be an option for that. They can now come in. Okay, do you have the details how much for them to come in? Ano ba yung minimum nila?
Um, I think you'll see all the minimums on the G Invest, but I believe that it's quite low. Just as an example, the money market, in order to invest in it, it was a 50 peso minimum, I
Yeah,
believe.
yeah.
So I envision that for the peso bond fund, it will be quite similar.
Okay, because but some of them they require 10,000 to come in, right? 5, 10. It's
No,
not.
don't worry. We're 10,000 pesos is a lot of money for most people. And when I say most people, I include myself there. So I don't want to be the manager of a fund that I myself cannot afford to invest in. So it's not 10,000.
So hopefully by the time I put out these videos, I have those details. But knowing the environment of GCash, hindi yan papayag na ano na you have a high entry level, no? So again, it's for people. You have a little bit of money. You have 2,000, 3,000 pesos, 5,000 pesos there. This is now an option for you. You might want to be able to put your money there. And going on the limb here, for even my friends who love the equity, this might also be an opportunity for you to park your money first while waiting to see movements. O hindi pa umaakit ang merkado ngayon. Wala pang buy signal. Pakitain mo muna yung pera mo. There's other ways for you to grow your money. And this might be an option for you. For my risk taker friends. Now, moderate investors, this is perfect for you. So GCash is going to be available. Do you have any specifics when this will start, or is it still there already?
I think at this point in time, I know that it's already in the
Oh,
beta
okay, okay.
stage.
Okay.
So I
I'm
would
checking
imagine that
now.
very soon it will be made widely available to everybody already.
All right, all right. So galing. So we're gonna get this again. Just to remind everybody, no, don't expect fantastic returns. Don't expect 10, 12%, 15% on a bond fund because that's very unlikely to happen. I'm not saying it's impossible, but Miguel pointed out it did happen in the 90s, in the 80s. Totally
It did
different.
happen over the last 2 years, Renser. 2019 and 2020, the fund made
Yeah.
9.8% last year and 11.5% in 2019. But again, very difficult conditions at those points in
At this
time,
point in time.
and it was really negative risk and positive for haven assets like bonds. So this year, I think we'll see more modest returns, but it can happen.
When you say modest, what numbers are you looking at?
We're looking at something in
Don't
the
worry, I'm
range
not
of
gonna hold you off. Gonna hold you
okay.
to that.
Yeah, we're looking at something in the range of between 3 and 5% on a net basis.
Okay. Yeah. You're so sigurista, my brother.
It's I think it's part of the job where I would worry if there was an investment professional who guaranteed you returns.
Oh, it's already in GCash. I just checked my GCash.
Perfect.
You can now get. So you go to GCash, you go to GInvest, and then there's investment products. There are now one, two. I have not checked this until today. 1, 2, 3, 4. Wow, we have 5 options now. We'll try to do videos for all of that. It's my commitment to all of you. Your total return peso bond fund is now there. So if you have enough savings already, which ako personally, I'm gonna go out of the limb here. This actually can form part of your savings element. Now you can even put part of your emergency funds here also because you don't expect it to go wild volatility. I mean, at most, diba? So uh, just give you a tip. Assuming that you have 6 months worth of emergency funds, maybe 2 months in the savings, okay? Maybe 2 months in money market, and maybe 2 months in bond fund. That's a good distribution of your money. Just a little bit of these things that I want to share with you. So it's now available in your G cash through GInvest feature. From my experience, no, medyo late comer din ako dito. I had events with Globe, we're talking about it, that it's now easy to use this. So it's now available, they can now do it. My friend ayaw mangako ng magandang return, but if you look at his experience, he's very modest, no? What were your returns last year for the funds that you're handling?
Last year was around 9.8%.
Wow. But then again, that's a fluke, right? That's
Um, I think it just feeds into what we mentioned about diversification
okay.
because when the pandemic happened, nobody was expecting it. So if you happen to be invested for part of your portfolio in a bond fund, you at least made 10% to offset whatever you were losing in an equity fund.
Okay. Yeah, that's so, and which we did. All right. So it's now available. You can check. I'm going to put the links there. ATRAM is the provider for GCash at this point in time for the investments, and they carry multiple. One of those investments is this one. So again, this investment is good for you if you're in the middle of the road. It doesn't mean that you're old, but hindi, kahit bata ka, this is a good, kung ayaw mo naman ng risk, ayaw mo ng volatility. We're not saying not to invest in equities, but if you're not yet ready to jump into the volatility, this is your entry level to investing. Buying bonds, bond funds is investing. Okay? It's not a guaranteed thing, but it's a way into, parang nagbabay ka, may training wheels ka pa sa gilid. Okay? Di ba? Meron pang ganon. This is a good. Now, when you build enough, you save enough money, you invest enough money, then you begin to start to diversify. But don't jump into high volatility kagad without this thing. This can be a base for you which you're gonna start. And then ipon-ipon lang. That's something that you want to do that. Good news. Finally, no,
I
we have
know.
more options. We have more options.
Actually, I was hoping that we've been talking about this with since last year. I think I was hoping it would get on board last year, but I think because of everything that was happening,
Yeah, yeah.
it
And
was
it's good
quite
timing.
difficult.
It's good timing now that people are going back to the norm. People are working more now. Hopefully money start to come in. This is something that they can, consider at least, no? Kesa mapunta po sa papatawa lang ako yung GCash nyo, kaysa pambayad nyo sa Shopee Lazada, connect nyo naman iba sa GInvest din, di ba? So ganun lang yun. It's the same experience of using it.
Online, everything online now.
Pwede
It's
na
great.
madali na mag-top up ngayon. So it's easy na. Just tip lang for GCash user, link your bank account. Okay, so it's easier use, so that's no friction cost. I love this because the friction cost it's crazy. I mean, it's easy. I don't have to pay so much, and it's very very easy to do that.
So
So
convenient to do talaga. So convenient now.
yeah, just follow the rules. If you have any questions, I'm going to link up the link here for ATRAM. And then to my friends in GCash, good job. You're doing this. Finally, you're doing this. You can do so many things with this app. And by the way, it's not just the other apps are also great. Okay, but you can now save, you can now invest, you can now insure, you can now do more things beyond shopping.
So you can try to make money apart from spending money.
Just make sure you make more money than you spend more money. So it's very important. Any parting words, my friend?
No, just thank you for your time again, everybody. And as Randall already pointed out, uh, there is a lot of benefit to being invested in bond funds, whether or not it's as a diversification factor or whether or not because the volatility and risk metrics suit your own personal risk profile. Because not everybody should be in equities or not everybody should be all in equities.
Okay, great. And guys, sinabi niya, no, hindi corny mag-invest sa bonds.
Oh, I think that medyo sexy rin naman yung chart na yan, sir.
Meron pala ako nakita especially with that kind of a performance and growth. Medyo okay lang in the last 4 to 5 years. So with that, Okay, if you've not subscribed to this channel, please click subscribe and then share this. You have questions, I'm going to put the links of ATRAM and even GCash here. With that, God bless everybody. Bye, Miguel.
Bye, everyone. Thank you, sir.